Thank you for joining us at xm.com for this Forex Preview video. We'll be having a closer look at the Fed meeting coming up this week. I'm Christina Marujos. Joining me today is Senior Investment Analyst Marios Hadjikyriacos. Marios, investors have been waiting for the Fed meeting this week to see whether the central bank will give away any more hints regarding possible tapering soon. The U.S. economy is doing well, but we're seeing concerns about the latest surge in COVID infections due to the Delta variant. Therefore, in light of this, do you think the Fed will signal anything groundbreaking at this meeting?
Hello, Christina. Not really. I don't expect any fireworks from the Fed this week. So there are no policy changes on the cards and we won't get any updated economic forecasts either. And overall, I think this meeting will just be used to buy some time. So let's take a step back. The US economy is booming. Inflation is running hot. Consumption is strong. The labor market is healing. Vaccination rates are high. And most importantly, Congress is working on another massive round of spending, this time on infrastructure. So normally, all of this would argue for the Fed to start normalizing, right? But there are a couple of risks that I think will keep policymakers a little cautious. So the first one is the Delta variant, like you mentioned. We've seen a sharp spike in US COVID cases lately, but thankfully, hospitalizations have not increased. So that shows us that the vaccines are working, and therefore, the Delta variant is not a huge risk for the US economy, in my opinion. I think it's a much bigger problem for developing economies with low vaccination rates. And if those economies get hit hard enough, that could also hold back US growth. So it's a risk. The other element is the Fed still thinks inflation is transitory. The latest comments from Chairman Powell showed the mentality of we're not really worried because most of the overshoot comes down to airfares, to hotels, to used cars, and all of those will probably fade quickly. So long story short, I don't think the Fed will commit to anything for now. I think they'll wait until September to make the real decisions. That will allow them more time to assess how virus and inflation risks are evolving, and it also allows them to examine more employment reports. So as far as the market reaction this week, I think it will simply depend on whether they signal that tapering is coming closer through their forward guidance. If they do, that would boost the dollar. If they don't, the dollar would likely take a hit, but I don't think the market reaction will be huge either way.
And now, speaking of the dollar, we're seeing it lately regaining its safe haven status and outperforming other currencies amid fears of a sharp slowdown in developing countries. Is the dollar's strength likely to continue?
I think so. Not only could the dollar gain from safe haven flows if the health situation in emerging markets gets even worse, it could also gain from US economic outperformance. So the US economy is out-recovering other regions, Europe, Japan, and so on. And there is no question that the Fed will taper its asset purchases relatively soon. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And ultimately, it doesn't really matter if it's in September or December. What matters is that the Fed is years ahead of the European Central Bank and the Bank of Japan in the normalization game. And overall, over time, this should allow the dollar to shine. Now, the main risk around this view is the US labor market. Everyone expects the next few employment reports to be amazing as these generous unemployment benefits expire and millions of people return to the labor force. If that doesn't happen, then the Fed might slow down its normalization plans and that could hit the dollar. However, I think this is a relatively low probability scenario.
And Marios, before I let you go, is there anything else we should be on the lookout for this week?
Yes, actually, we get the US GDP data, economic growth data for the second quarter. These are always important for the dollar. Now, overall, this was probably an amazing quarter. More stimulus packages, the reopening of the economy. And, overall, I think that the data are likely to confirm the theme that the US is going to recover better and faster than everyone else.
Marios, thank you for joining me today. This was the Forex Preview on the Fed meeting coming up this week. Thanks for watching at xm.com.